you've been in and out of the courtroom over the last week, and news just broke that you are on the defense witness list. What does this mean?
That's right. The defense just posted on the docket in the case the list of the witnesses that they may call during their case in chief, meaning once the prosecution has rested its part of the case and the defense presents its own. And I am, I think, number 6 on the list. The interesting thing is that prosecutors, the 3 main prosecutors in this case, are also on this list, as well as officials from the FDA and CMS, the 2 federal health regulatory agencies. So what this tells me is clearly one of the arguments that the defense is going to make is that this was a witch hunt. It was a witch hunt by the government, and the government was in league with me, allegedly. That's what they're going to argue to the jury. And I think they're going to try to show that those health agencies, FDA and CMS, cracked down on Theranos in a way that was harsher than they might otherwise have. They'll try to make the case that I biased them, that I colored their judgment, and that basically, none of this would have come to pass if I hadn't been in contact with them and if they hadn't read my stories.
Well, we'll certainly be watching to see if you get called, John. You, of course, broke the story about her deception. You say she was indeed, quote, faking it, lying, leading a massive fraud, and she has maintained her innocence. In fact, her defense involves pointing the finger at Sunny Balwani, her former business partner, and also her ex-boyfriend. She says he mentally abused her. What do you make of that defense?
Yeah, that's another line of defense that we learned about in the past 10 days. She's going to allege that he was sexually and mentally abusive, and that he effectively deprived her of her free will and of her agency, and that as a result, she's innocent of the charges. As I say in my podcast, it's an incredibly hard defense strategy to pull off. You have to get those 12 jurors to believe that all those times that she was addressing audiences at the height of her fame, when she looked incredibly charismatic and self-possessed and charming and intelligent, that she was never really in control, that she was a puppet who was controlled by a puppeteer, and that puppeteer was Sunny Balwani, her boyfriend at the time, and the number 2 executive at Theranos. They're going to have to get the jury to believe that this mind control was going on for the better part of 12 years. It's a lot to ask, but who knows? She's incredibly, in my experience, in my 6.5 years of reporting on this, I found that she's a chameleon, and she's going to sell this hard. She's going to go on the witness stand and play the naive young woman who was manipulated by an older man, and who knows? The jury might just eat out of her hand.
Now, things have gotten complicated in just the months and weeks leading up to the trial. Some of this, which you report on in your podcast, she also had a baby, which delayed the trial. That's led to a round of different kind of speculation. Talk to us about the twists and turns over just the last year here.
Right. So first of all, the case was delayed for more than a year because of the pandemic. This was originally supposed to go to trial in the summer of 2020. It was delayed several times because of the pandemic. And then it was supposed to go to trial in early July of this year. And it was delayed again by another 6 weeks because she was pregnant. She gave birth in early July. And finally, jury selection began last week. But, the wheels of justice have turned very slowly in this case. If you recall, my first Wall Street Journal story came out in October of 2015. I started my investigation in early 2015. We're now nearly 7 years later, this is still a case that hasn't yet been decided. So I'm personally anxious for this to happen and for this to move forward.